And here we go. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Pulse of Ithaca Podcast, your local podcast for entertainment in the greater Ithaca, New York area. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Sean, your host, and joining me is my ever-knowledgeable co-host, Pete. This week we'll be discussing some upcoming concerts in Ithaca and exploring my recent camping trip to Arnold Lake near Oneonta. Also, in 10 minutes from now, we're going to be interviewing Ithaca's own singer and songwriter, Max Child. Let's get started.
Yeah, Sean. Here we are again.
Back at it.
So good to be here at the Canopy here in downtown Ithaca.
Yep, another special guest for the evening.
That's right. We have another guest in the studio, Max Childs. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you, Max.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to go ahead and cruise through our events here, and then our second segment is going to be the interview with Max. And then we'll close out with your recent camping trips.
All right, let's get to it. All right, before we get to the local events, though, Pete, how about you share with us your little about the one-day festival you're going to this weekend?
Yeah, so this kind of came together this week with a couple friends of mine. I've known about this for a while, but out in Ellicottville, which is just 2.5 hours down Route 86 or Interstate 86, at Holiday Valley, they're having a Railriders Jam is the name of the festival, and I think this is the 5th year that they've done it. They've done a great job of bringing in some nationally touring jam bands the past few years, and this is actually my first year that I'm going to make it up there. The headliner is Grammy Award winners, the Infamous Stringdusters. Karina Reichman is also going to be there. Some of you may know her for her solo work and also her work with Marco Benevento Trio. She actually played Deep Dive a couple months ago, so very definitely familiar here in the area. Also in the lineup features the Wild Knights, Dirty Blanket out of Rochester, who just played a show at Deep Dive as well recently. The Buffalo Brass Machine. The day kicks off at 11 a.m. with Bluegrass and Bloodies with Crickwater. So that goes from 11 to 1. So hopefully I can get up early Saturday morning. Me and a friend of mine have a room booked there.
Nice.
So looking forward to get some runs in early in the day. Try and mix it up. Try to find the balance between skiing, having a few beers, and checking out some music without overdoing it. So
I'm confident you'll find that balance.
I appreciate that. If anyone else is interested in checking it out, it's railriderjam.com. Tickets are $75. They still had rooms available at the hotel right at the resort if anybody's interested in that as well. So check it out.
Nice. Pete, can you tell us a little about some concerts coming up in town that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, so there's a couple of shows I'm looking forward to. At Deep Dive, we've got Couch. That's Saturday, March 30th from 8 to 11:30. Tickets are $20 in advance and $25 at the door. This is an 18-plus event. Don't miss this incredible music with Couch. Hailing from Boston, they skillfully combine elements of pop with groove, of funk, the energy of rock, and the soulfulness of R&B. So their electric sound is enriched by their diverse musical expertise spanning jazz, a cappella, and musical theater. A band that I have not seen before, but heard a lot about. Definitely people are going to enjoy that show. I see Max giving me this thumbs up over here. So.
Great band.
That is good stuff. So also another band, which is a bit of a super group that I'm looking forward to seeing at Deep Dive, is J Well Live. That is March 22nd at 8 p.m., and that features Natalie Cressman of Trey Anastasio Band, Michael Travis of String Cheese Incident, Isaac Young of PX3, Dave McSweeney of Hive Mind, and we have our Ithaca's own DJ Gord opening.
Nice.
So definitely get down there early. J-Well ushers in a new era where electronic mastery meets live musical artistry, creating a fusion of sounds that resonate with the heartbeat of modernity. Modernity? Yeah, I think I got that.
I knew what you were talking about.
With a setup brimming with electronic devices, guitar, bass, keys, and a dynamic array of live drums and percussions, they stand at the forefront of aural innovation. Mm-hmm. So definitely check those two shows out. As always, you can get tickets at www.deepdiveithaca.com.
Nice. What about anything else?
Yeah, there was actually a show announcement that I'm super excited about.
Okay.
In addition to Giant Panic Gorilla Dub Squad that I've talked about many times, my other favorite band is Humphreys McGee, and they are playing at Lincoln Hill Farms. That's happening Sunday, July 7th. Tickets are $37, and I've been told that the capacity of that venue is 2,000, which is going to be a good size place for them. I actually haven't been up to Lincoln Hill Farms yet, but I've heard great things about it. Our friend TJ is helping out with booking some of the shows up there. For anyone who's willing to make that drive, I think I looked it up the other day. I think it's less than an hour and a half.
It's worth it.
Yeah, worth the drive, definitely. Yeah. There is a hip camp nearby that I was checking out. There's also some hotels, the Miami Hotel, a couple other places. So definitely places to go up there and stay.
Options.
Yeah, you got options. You don't have to drive up and back from Ithaca.
Yeah.
So check that out. And that is at www.lincolnhillfarms.com. Looking forward to that. Yes. So. All right. So that pretty much does it for events.
Yep.
We kept it short and concise there.
Yeah.
Coming up here in about 30 seconds, we're going to be having an interview with Max Child. Stick with us.
All right, listeners, it's that time when Sean and Pete stop talking to each other and start talking to someone way more interesting. And now, without further ado, let's get started.
All right, so here we go.
Yes.
Hailing from upstate New York, Max Child is a songwriter, performer, and recording artist. He and his band bring to the stage an energetic and intimate performance of original music that pushes the boundaries of live popular music. Since forming his band in 2015, Childs has performed across the Upper East Coast, headlining and supporting artists such as Daniel Ponder, Juiced, West End Blend, and Bella's Bartok, yeah. Bartok, thank you. In 2022, Max Childs won the Battle of the Bands contest at the 30th Annual Finger Lakes Grassroots Festival, resulting in 2 amazing performances at the 2023 festival.
Max Childs.
And after releasing a few singles in the last year, Child has recorded both a studio and live album at Deep Dive through Pyramid Sound Studios, both of which are anticipated to be released in the spring-summer of 2024. Max, It's a pleasure to have you with us on the Pulse of Ithaca. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Well, thanks for joining us today. Big fan of yours. Great to see, great local musicians doing well, representing well, and we're excited to get into your history of how you got into music and talk a little bit about your recently joining Giant Panda Gorilla Dub Squad on the keys. So with that, Sean, take it away for us.
All right. Max, when we were hanging out at the bar, I had all these questions on the tip of my tongue, and I said, I have to save these because we're going to be on the podcast. So, all right.
Here we are.
Let's go. Max, can you share with us your journey of how you first ventured into music? And at what point did you recognize that your passion lay in songwriting and performing?
Yeah. So I come from a musical family. Both my parents are professional musicians. And out of my 3 other brothers, 2 of them play music. One of them is a professional. The other's, he's 16, but he's a blooming professional musician for sure.
Nice.
So it's kind of in my blood. I started playing music when I was 6, taking piano lessons, and I played cello as well. And yeah, as far as, I was always, performing in recitals growing up, and I just kind of got used to that atmosphere of being on a stage. I think I got really into songwriting. I don't even remember. I think as long as I was playing music, I was always doodling on piano.
Sure.
And writing little jingles or whatever. My dad is also a composer and was always encouraging of that. But I guess what really kind of sparked the idea in my head that I wanted to be doing this kind of at a professional level was when the local composer here, Josh Oxford, he gave me, I must have been in middle school at the time, he gave me a burnt CD of Stevie Wonder's Fulfilling This Is First Finale, that album.
Nice.
Amazing album. And Josh was like, this is the stuff. You got to listen to this. Check it out. And I did, and then I immediately became a Stevie Wonder fan, and I was like, I want to write tunes like this, like that groove, that love songs, and I don't know. After that, it was just kind of game over. I was engulfed in the whole, like, I want to do this. I want to play keys and sing. So
love it.
And so what instruments did you start out playing then?
I started on piano, when I was 6, and then, 3rd grade, whatever age that is, I started playing cello. And I studied both those instruments classically, and all the way through high school. And then in high school, I started taking jazz piano lessons as well. And that, led me to study jazz piano at Oberlin Conservatory for a few years as well. And I think that the jazz side of that definitely has influenced my songwriting, and, being into Stevie Wonder and other Motown artists, I wanted to know how to play that type of music. So
Totally.
Yeah, good stuff. So one of the first times that I first started finding out about you and your band was at the Battle of the Bands contest at Finger Lakes Grassroots Festival. So I feel like that must have been a somewhat significant milestone. There's a lot of bands that perform in that, and you were able to play the following year. Can you tell us a little bit about how that experience influenced your career, and how it may have changed your view on music competitions, or like how you felt about that experience of being in one of those?
Yeah, that was a wild weekend. That Grassroots. Not only did I a few days before that contest, I proposed to my now wife, Christina. And we kind of say Grassroots is our anniversary, dating anniversary.
There you go.
And so after 5 years, I decided to pop the question there. And then a few days later, kind of winning the competition was definitely a cherry on top for that weekend.
Oh, hell yeah.
But it's definitely how it influenced my career. I think it was just a boost to be like, all right, yeah, I can do this. I want to do this more. Inspired me to try to play out more. I'm definitely interested in getting on more festival lineups, both
Definitely
in the New York area and greater East Coast or wherever they'll have me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, the music competitions are funny because it's, you're like judging someone's art.
Right.
But,
yeah.
Super subjective.
Everyone that performed definitely deserves to win and deserves that spotlight. I think the biggest takeaway from that was really just, it's kind of humbling, like just watching other people be vulnerable on stage. And
Yeah.
I remember it was like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. that I played on that stage after a Friday night at the festival.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, I can't believe I'm about to do this. But
Yeah, seriously.
God, I drank a bunch of coffee and water and got up there and did it. And it's a really cool thing that they do. And I definitely, any artists that are listening, that I definitely encourage you to do it. So
Yeah, good stuff.
Nice. Max, do you have a favorite venue or a memorable concert that stands out for you, and why?
Yeah, so many concerts. But I mean, one concert that really stands out that I saw here locally was Big Bean Sound Machine played on the Commons a few years ago. They did, I think they called it the iTown Review show, and their whole set was featuring different front people from other bands in town. So I think Maddie Walsh sang with them from Blind Spots. Tenzin Chopak sang. Dan Keller, when Dan was part of Giant Panda. Yeah. And I'm blanking on the rest of the people, but I just remember watching that show, and I knew a lot of the people on stage as well, just being here in the local music scene, and it was just a beautiful experience. I think it was probably part of Ithaca Fest or something. So huge crowd on the Commons, and just a stage full of awesome people, and a community of listeners that love them all, and
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that show. I really wish that that show would come back, because it was a super cool thing.
And was that right down here at the Bernie Milton Pavilion then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like 7 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah, pre-COVID. But as far as like a favorite venue that I've played locally, Deep Dive is definitely my favorite venue. I love the people there.
Absolutely.
Good sound system and easy load in.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Details.
that's important. Yeah, you get to park the vehicle right next to the door, right? No stairs involved.
Exactly.
Good stuff. All right. So this is a question that's kind of, like I always like asking this question because I don't write songs. I've never had a creative, I've never written any kind of music or anything. So it just blows my mind how people are able to create songs, both with music and lyrics.
Yeah.
So in terms of songwriting, could you share a bit about your process? How do you usually start a song and what inspires you to write? Do you write the music first? Do you write the lyrics first? Like, do you have a process? How does it work for you?
Yeah. Every song is different. And it's definitely, the songwriting process is something that's ever changing for me. With different influences that I'm hearing musically, or lyrically. But sometimes I'll sit down at the piano, come up with a chord progression, be like, all right, now we'll add lyrics, or now we'll add a melody. Sometimes I'm driving around in my car and I'll think of like one lyric that I'm like, oh, that's I want to use that in a song. So it'll start there. I record a lot of voice memos on my phone.
Okay. I was going to ask, how do you like catalog these things?
Yeah.
Are there napkins involved?
It's
sticky notes everywhere.
Right.
What's funny is a lot of this happens while I'm just driving around, by myself, and I'm just like coming up with ideas and singing to myself or whatever, and I'll come up with a lyric or a melody, press record on my voice memo, and then what's funny is I don't label them all. It's always the way that like iPhones work is they just label the recording based off of the nearest location that you are.
Right.
So I've got a bunch of recordings that are like, near Green Star, Ithaca, or like,
Code
some
name.
random address on State Street or something like that.
That's great. So you can find out where like your most creative areas are. And like if you're trying to if you're in a song block, you can just hop in the car, drive around to your hot spots until it comes to you.
It's always fun, like scrolling through those and pressing play and seeing what happens. Some of them are like, I'll never use that. And then some of them I'll come back to after like a month and I'll be like, oh, that's a good idea. I was telling Sean earlier a little bit, with like writer's block is definitely a real thing. Mm-hmm. And during the pandemic, I had all this time on my hands and I just couldn't think of anything to write, specifically lyrically. Lyrics are always the hardest part for me. And a process that I started doing, and I was like Googling like how to get over writer's block, reading different blogs and whatever. A technique that I found that's really worked for me is I go on to Google, or often I'll go on Amazon and I'll just search like book titles. So like if I want to write a love song, I'll just search like love stories or like love novels or something like that.
Dude,
right. That's
awesome.
a great idea.
And because a lot of the time, like, a lot of lyrics can get pretty cheesy, especially with a love song. And so I try to find, I guess it's like my way of using a thesaurus is like scrolling through book titles and like, a lot of the titles are like, the man I fell in love with, or like, just kind of cheesy stuff, but sometimes I'll be scrolling through and there'll be like one word where I'm like, oh, that's a good word.
And it makes you think of something and it creates this source of like creativity.
And it definitely, like I put out a song last September called Fireflies, and
great song.
Thank you. And the word fireflies, I forget the full title of the book, but it was part of a title. And I was like, I saw that word probably page like 10 of the search results. And I was like, oh, that's a good word. Like, that fits the one lyric that I need for this song. So that's how it works. I don't know.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I have a follow-up question there. So how many of these voice memos do you think you have? Like, what are you up to? Are you
ballpark.
It's funny because I have them like dating back to when I was in high school too. Like,
and you never delete them, right?
No.
Yeah. So what do you think you're up to?
I don't know, probably like 300.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That just blows my mind.
Yeah.
It's definitely great to go back and listen to them. And, a lot of them will probably never turn into anything, but they're there in case they need to. So
but one thing I've noticed, though, even with like photos that I took 5 years ago or 7 years ago with a drone or with something else, when you go back and revisit those photos with like a new program, like recently I got like a new Lightroom program, and I was able to like go revisit those photos I took 7 years ago, and I found all kinds of different experiences in those photos that I didn't have before.
Totally.
Right.
So this will be really interesting for you, I think, as you go. And we're talking, you're a young guy. So as the years and decades go on, it'll be really interesting to see if you revisit any of that and if you're able to pull something out of that that you didn't have before. So what a cool way of exploring that.
Dude, I love that Amazon story.
it works.
It totally works. It
Works
totally
for me.
works. Bezos is a genius for a reason.
Right.
He knows.
Yeah, maybe I'll start searching on a different platform.
Cool. All right. All right, Max, you've been involved with both studio and live album recordings. How do you approach these? And do you do it like in different environments? And do you have a preference?
If I had a preference, it'd probably be studio.
Okay, sure.
Because with live recording, you get one shot at it.
Right.
So the nerves are up and
Yeah.
high stakes. I did the live album recording at Deep Dive back in November. And that was a like surreal experience. I had never done anything like that. Usually, in the past, I've played shows and the sound guy after the show will be like, I recorded that like off the board. Do you want to hear it? And I'll be like, oh yeah. And that's like, but knowing that the whole thing's being recorded from the top of the show is a little nerve wracking, but at the same time, it's awesome because it's,
Natural.
It's natural, and whatever happens, and that's the beauty of a live show and a live recording. You hear those mistakes, you hear the perfect moments.
Yeah.
It's like a very human experience.
Yeah, and just so if our listeners don't know, recently you recorded that live concert at Deep Dive, and that's coming out in 2024.
Yeah, I'm going into the studio next week to do some more work on it with the mixing with Alex Perry-Ellis from Pyramid Sound Studios here in Ithaca. As far as studio recording goes, I love that. I love it's how I think of like a painter must feel painting, in their studio. That's kind of what a recording studio is for me, just going in there, playing with different microphones, different percussion instruments, different sounds. And studio time for me is a place to like kind of venture outside your comfort zone too, because you're by yourself, or I'm by myself a lot of the time, like in my home studio. But yeah, the two worlds are totally different, live versus studio, but they're both well worth exploring as any artist.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So moving on, we just talked a little bit about your process for recording and the show that you recorded at Deep Dive. You also have a new single coming out at the end of the month. Can you give us a hint of, I've seen a little bit of clips online, but can you tell us a little bit about the process for writing this song and what we can expect and themes or styles, or like tell us a little bit about this upcoming single.
Yeah. So it's called From the Get Up. I wrote it back in, just a few months ago in December. I took a trip out to LA with my brother Sam. We went to a conference out there, music-related conference, and we met up with a buddy of ours, Carnival. He's a producer out in LA. And
nice.
We got together one afternoon on that trip, and just, I think Carney was like, I kind of want to write a tune like with this type of beat. And then he got a drum beat going, and then within 4 hours we had the song.
Get out of here.
So yeah, I love that type of like collaboration. And then we literally spent like 4 or 5 hours. We wrote the lyrics, recorded it all. And then I think the next day we went back to his place and did a few edits, and then we kind of sat on the song for until now. And a month ago, I was like, this is a good tune. We don't need to do much more to it. Like, let's put it out there.
Yeah.
We're like, cool.
It's gonna be a good feeling.
So it's got a pop vibe to it, pop soul kind of vibe. I also have a ton of music that I'm sitting on that will be part of the studio album coming out soon. And a lot of the sounds on that are pop, rock, and soul inspired. Songs about love, loss, and yeah, I guess that's what you can kind of expect is just fun, danceable music. And
yeah, that is awesome. Now, this single, is this going to be featured on the new album, or is this single just kind of its own standalone?
I haven't decided yet, but I think it will be.
Okay.
I think,
Here first on the Pulse of Ithaca podcast.
Yeah,
that's
you heard it
right.
here first. I've been toying with I'm dropping this single, and I might do like a different arrangement of it for the album, which could be fun. But yeah,
That's great. And when does the single come out again?
comes out on March 29th.
Okay.
You can listen to
Friday?
it. Yeah, not this Friday, but the next one.
Yeah.
And you can listen to it. You should be able to listen to it anywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right on.
You can buy it too.
Okay.
Do that.
Awesome.
99 cents on iTunes.
There you go. All right. So Max, throughout your career, you've worked alongside groups such as Giant Panda, Grill, Dub Squad, Eli Flynn, and Everyman.
Yeah.
Everyman. Sorry. How have these collaborations contributed to your growth as a musician?
It's a good question. I think playing with other artists has really opened my mind to just the benefits of collaboration.
Sure.
I used to be super, I'm going to do this by myself. And kind of within the last year, I've been working a lot with other artists in studio and outside the studio on stage. And there's just so much to learn from which, I've always known, but never really felt. And playing with Giant Panda has been awesome. I was watching them for years as a fan.
Yeah,
growing
this is
up.
amazing. Yeah.
And I've known a few of them for a while, and then getting asked to play last summer and for future shows coming up has been awesome. I think, one of my biggest takeaways is how they, command an audience on stage.
Absolutely. They have amazing live shows.
Yeah. And, you've got Dylan, James, and Eli up front there all singing, and they all have their own stage presence, and it just combines in a nice way. I love watching James perform. He's
Absolutely.
so active. He's
Masters of their craft.
Most active bass player I've seen on stage.
Yeah,
I don't know
absolutely.
how he does it, but
he's sweating through his leather jacket,
awesome.
trying to keep the
awesome.
the sweat off the bass.
Yeah. And I'm a pretty quiet guy. And so, when I watch these other bands I'm playing with and these other artists perform their music, and it's definitely inspiring, and I learn a lot that's how you engage an audience on this song, or, things to say on the mic, or,
Right.
Yeah.
So it's,
and that's a professional band. I mean, they've been at it. They're veterans of the game. So
Yeah.
it's got to be really cool to be on stage and be part of a band like that. And they have so much festival experience and
Yeah.
big stage experience.
it's like a second language for them, being
Yeah.
on stage that way.
Nice.
It's,
And so do you have any, as a follow-up to Sean's question there, the second half of that, do you have any other collaborations that have had an impact on you?
yeah. I've gotten to play with a lot of great artists. Uma Galera comes to mind. I've worked in the past with Chase Baker, Double Tiger.
Yeah, Ithaca's own.
His own Daniel Ponder. I got to do a
Rochester.
residency with her a few years ago, which was awesome. And I got to do a tour with this artist from Los Angeles. Her name is Do Paro. Really cool, kind of like Amy Winehouse inspired vibe.
Okay, nice.
she might not like that I just said that. I don't know, but I did a tour with her. We opened up for a great artist named Sun Little, and Packy and Evan from Gymkata were on that tour, and so I got to play and travel with them, which was really cool.
Amazing.
I've gotten to play with Kevin Kinsella as well.
One of my favorites as well.
Just good people, and I've been fortunate to work with great people and humble people, and they've all just inspired me. I guess I would say to be humble and to just do your craft the way you do you. And
I mean, this is just such a great place for musicians. Like if you're a genuine person, you have some talent, you can come into this town. There's so many great connections to make.
Yeah,
totally.
I've noticed that just from living here as a non-musician.
People want to build you up. It's not like this this competition. Like I'm gonna block you. It's just
right.
Everybody's inclusive and So looking forward to the future, what are some unexplored areas or genres in music that you're interested in experimenting with? You've told us a little bit about the kind of sounds that you've been into growing up, that you learned about when you were a kid, and some of the music that you're releasing now. Are there any unexplored areas that you think you might want to explore as time goes on?
Yeah. I love this because I kind of get to come out of my shell a bit here.
Let's hear it. What is your hidden musical secrets?
I'm a huge country buff.
Yes.
I love country music. I definitely don't have the confidence to perform country now, but not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
So would that be more in the popular kind of vein, or would it be more old-timey? Like, where would you see yourself in that?
Both. I find great things in both. I definitely listen to a lot of pop country. Definitely influences my music. I love you mentioned Couch earlier.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for that show.
Awesome.
And bands like that with a full band, real instruments, and they're creating this poppy sound is super influential for me. And so I find like pop country to be the same that way. Just acoustic instruments, and electric instruments as well, but live band. So I've written some country songs. Not gonna put them out.
This is fascinating.
I definitely don't have I don't have the twang for any.
Okay, well, here's what I suggest you do, and I want some royalties off of this idea. I think you should just launch a second iTunes account, Spotify account under a different name, release this.
I've thought about it.
All right, you already had the idea. I'll let you know.
Yeah,
but I think that's a great idea. So don't tell anyone. Come here in a year and tell us about it.
Yeah.
But I love country though.
I wouldn't hold yourself back with. Don't put yourself in a box. I think it's really cool that you have thought about this a little bit.
Totally. And I love it could be a thing too where, maybe I'll write country tunes for others. And if anyone's interested in a Max Child's country tune.
There we go.
There you go. I like it. All right. All right. So for aspiring musicians who look up to you, what advice would you give them about their developing craft and navigating through the music industry?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things is that for me learning is just to give yourself time to create.
Okay.
Like a lot of us artists, we all work other jobs and we do 9 to 5s or 5s to midnight or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And if it's important to find that time in your week or your month or however much you need to sit down and do your craft. I think being your most honest self with music is the best thing you can do. That's the thing that sets you apart from everyone else is who you are and what you offer to your music. And there's some like business things too. For aspiring musicians, in this day and age, you kind of have to, if you want to take it seriously and do the thing, you kind of have to have a business sense. So knowing how to operate, your Spotify and your Apple Music accounts.
Sure.
You have to wear a lot of hats. It's just like running a business, right? You're not just the musician, you're marketing, you're sales, your production,
and that's been a big thing that I've been trying to dive into in the last few years is just learning about social media and trends and the time of day that you post something.
It does matter.
It all matters, and it's all a crazy game. Knowing how to book yourself is another big thing. How to email venues and pitch yourself. Speaking eloquently over email, and try not to like write a big blurb about yourself. Just be like, hey, I want to play your venue. This is what we do.
Yeah, short and sweet, to the point. Yeah.
Don't want to waste their time. You don't want to waste your time. And then another thing I think would be knowing your worth.
Absolutely. It's hard. It's hard to know, right?
It's hard to know and tough to gauge sometimes. But I've played shows where I made $20 and played shows where I've made a lot more, and I've loved all of them. But to make a living as a musician, you got to stand up for yourself. And, if a venue wants to hire you, make sure that you get paid what you deserve. So
yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great answer.
Well, dude, this has been awesome. Yeah. Most of the people that we interview on here, I know very well. You're like one of the first people that I don't know very
I know. I feel like we've seen each other.
Yeah, we've seen each other a lot. Yeah. Absolutely. But it's been great to get to know you through this conversation. Yeah, and thank you for coming in and giving us some really authentic, answers and just,
Sure.
I really appreciate it. Before we go, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners that we haven't covered yet today in today's conversation?
I think the only I'll just pitch my live show coming up.
Yeah,
do it.
As we talked about earlier, I'm releasing a song called From the Get Up on March 29th. And that same day, I'm playing a show here in Ithaca at the Range, kind of like a single release party, if you will.
Awesome.
Got the full band, great lineup of musicians. We're going to be playing all night. I think doors are at 9:30. The show is at 10:30. We're going to play till they tell us to get out of there. And it's $10 is the cover, $5 with a student ID. It'll be a really good time, and I'm definitely looking forward to this show. So.
Oh, right on.
You heard it here at the...
That's right. Mark your calendars.
Friday, March 29th.
We will be there as well. So thanks again, Max.
Yeah,
really
thanks,
appreciate you coming out and sharing your musical journey with us. Good luck with the new release. Enjoy the tour with Giant Panda this summer.
Thanks.
I'll be super excited to see you on stage some more with them. So thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
And everybody, we'll be back in 30 seconds. Sean's going to take us on a journey through Arnold Lake near Oneonta.
That's right.
So stick with us. We'll be right back.
Nature calls and Sean answers. Join us as we venture into the great outdoors.
And here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that was such an awesome interview with Matt.
It was, dude. It was.
It was a lot of fun. So good to connect with local musicians here in Ithaca.
Right.
Get their perspective on songwriting, the bands that they played with, the shows that they're doing.
I always love how we get the opportunity to pick an artist's brain and like we talk about how do you create that song? Is it the sound first? Is it the lyric first? And then artist has kind of their own way,
Absolutely.
It's really cool and really creative. And when Max said the Amazon thing.
Right.
I was like, that is so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That is such a great idea. You just need inspiration and you can find it in so many different places.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I'm excited for our next topic. Each week you go out, you explore Earth.
Yep.
Sometimes it's a hike, sometimes it's a bike ride, sometimes it's a winter camping expedition.
Yep.
And I believe that's what you have in store for us today. Can you tell us where did you go this past weekend? What's going on?
Yeah. So this past weekend I went to Arnold Lake, which is a small lake near Oneonta, New York, less than 2 hours away from Ithaca. I stayed at a lean-to. It was probably maybe 100 meters from where I parked my car, totally flat. But I went with my friend Nick, and we had this theme of a 19th century Irish lager coinciding with like St. Patty's Day on Sunday.
Absolutely. Represent.
It was so much fun, Pete. So we had to research so we had beef barley soup. We had Irish boxy, which is like an Irish pancake. We drank a lot of Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
Irish beer. We had like an apple like turnover cake too.
Okay.
For dessert. We did not use flashlights. We just used candles.
Get out of here. No headlamps.
No headlamps. We chopped down a lot of trees.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about this. So I saw some videos online.
Yeah.
You guys were using hatchets, right?
We use axes. We didn't
Axes. I'm sorry.
So we were kind of getting the vibe of like the typical day of like a lumberjack, like 100 plus years ago. And so we do the research, and like these guys are cutting down trees like with no machinery. And let me tell you, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, dude. I saw like a 15-second video, and I actually took a moment to pause and appreciate how much work happened before and after that, because that was a decent sized tree that you were cutting down.
Yeah.
And then I was wondering, what do you guys do with that? Like, did you have a saw to like make firewood out of it? Like, what do you do with that?
We had the folding saws.
Okay.
So again, a lot of physical work. We broke them up in like stumps and stuff, and then like chopped wood to like smaller, finer pieces. We had a great fire going all day and all night.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was cool. Like I had like overalls and like my like it's a newsy hat, but like we call it like a peaker blinders hat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then like Nick made this like kitchenette of like some wood, and like he just like hung like on like a cast iron skillets.
Nice for cooking over the fire.
Going over the fire. He did all the cooking, so kudos to him.
Nice work, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so tell me this, when you chop down a tree, are you guys looking for certain kinds of trees? Because I know when you chop down, a tree's already dead, are they live? Because I know that when I order firewood, I can get ash, right?
Okay.
Which is like 80% dry when it's, or not that it's 80% dry, but it doesn't dry out any more than it already is.
I didn't know you could get so specific about when you're buying wood. I think they're just like, this is the cord of wood, and this is what you get.
Yeah, this guy has amazing, and he'll let you get hardwood or ash. So if it's camp and I need wood I got to burn right away, I'll ask him for some ash.
Interesting.
If it's stuff that I'm saving for later, I'll get the hardwood. The problem with the ash is that, well, the great thing about it is it's 80% dry as soon as it's cut. It doesn't really dry out that much more. But the problem is that it burns really fast.
Yeah.
So are you guys tactical about what type of tree you're taking down, or like how does that process work?
Kind of.
Is it based on size? Like, I think we could cut this one down.
It's definitely like based on size. It's also like it's not rocket science, but one of the things I do with like a lot of trees is like I knock on it, and it's like it's a sound.
Okay.
You know, how dead does it sound?
Yeah.
Because like where we were, like had rain like the day before, so like you would have like wet bark, but the wood inside could be like really good.
Yeah.
I actually brought it's called a draw knife. It's basically like this curved blade with two handles on it, and you can like shave wood with it.
Yeah.
So I was able to like shave like the wet bark off and then get to the dry wood. But yeah, it's definitely like I'll knock on wood. And like, you know, people like they go hike with me, like he's just knocking on wood. And like, I'm listening for stuff. I'm listening for like good wood. But we found some pretty good wood there, and it was just I don't know. It's definitely I say like at least a 2-person job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was happy that you had somebody helping you. I noticed you guys were taking turns.
And then it's like at some point we're just like, all right, we're just gonna try and push this over.
Yeah.
Instead of just like chop it to the end.
And tell me about this lean-to that you guys had. Did you put any extra covering over lean-to, or you just lean-to with your belongings inside?
So the funny thing is, like the previous week, we scouted it out. It's like one of the finest lean-tos we've been to, and we kind of like looked around, and then we both has like the same look on our face. We're just like, these accommodations are like almost like too nice. It was almost like glamping.
You guys thought you were roughing it.
Yeah, like this really isn't roughing it. Like the lean-to must have been like a couple years old, like fairly newly built. And,
Was there a lot of gaps in the floor and gaps in the walls, or?
No, like it's all good stuff. I actually forgot. I usually like sleep in like a fold-out cot thing.
Yeah.
And I forgot it. And
Oh,
so
no.
I slept on the floor, and
Yeah.
it's totally fine.
Cool. Did you have at least like a blanket underneath you or anything?
My friend Nick let me borrow he had like a little pad thing.
Okay.
Which was totally fine.
You guys had enough like recreational activity to make sure that you could sleep properly at the end of the night.
Yeah, that's where the Irish whiskey comes in hand.
Right. That is great. So what drew you guys to Arnold Lake? Like, how did you go about picking out the spot, and what made it attractive for you guys?
So he lives in Glens Falls, which is like 3.5 hours from here. We tend to go either to Adirondacks or the Catskills, and the Adirondacks is like an hour from him. The Catskills is kind of like 3 hours plus for both of us. But we're like, all right, like what's like in between us, like on a map?
Right.
Which brought us like around like the Cooperstown, Oneonta area. And it was like, all right, it's like 2 hours for each of us. That's pretty quick. But it's like we didn't know the area that well. So like Nick's actually really good at finding stuff like online and saying like, here's a potential spot. But that's why we went there like the previous week and we're like, all right, so this is gonna be a workout, and like it worked out really well.
Yeah.
But like the location's key. Like you really have to like find locations, because like there's nothing worse like planning like a camping trip and getting all the gear and being like, yeah, this spot sucks.
Yeah, right.
It's gonna be a long day and night. There's not enough Irish whiskey to make this work.
Right. Man. Well, it sounds like you guys had a great time. Is there anything else about the excursion you'd like to share with us today?
I would say like this is definitely a spot that you could go to like year round. I guess you can go. There's like a Groom. Well, one, there's snow, but there's Groom cross country skiing trails there.
Oh, beautiful.
A lot of people go fishing there. It's open year round. It's 15 minutes from Ommegang Brewery, which is one of my favorite breweries in the state.
Love their beer.
And it's only 20 minutes if you're a baseball fan from like the Hall of Fame.
Okay, yeah.
So, and it's pretty like centrally located to everything. Yeah, like I said, like less than 2 hours from Ithaca, lower hour from Albany. Pretty easy to get to. I'll definitely go back another time of the year.
Yeah, great stuff. Any plans for next weekend? What's coming up? What's on the hiking camping agenda for the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, not the next weekend. Next month we do have something planned, and it'll be here locally in Ithaca.
Oh, that's right. You had mentioned that last week, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
sci-fi.
Yeah,
theme.
An ode to Rod Sterling from The Twilight Zone, because he's got local connections.
Yes,
to Ithaca.
Awesome.
We're working on the creative aspect of it. And this is our most ambitious trip yet, even though it's local for me.
Yeah.
It's actually gonna be a 3-parter.
Okay.
But I will be tight-lipped until the next episode.
All right. Awesome. I can't wait to hear about it. Really appreciate these stories. Pretty awesome how you go out and explore as much as you do and you get out. So super excited for your next trip. And I think that's pretty much a wrap, right?
I think so.
I'd like to thank everyone for listening this week. We realize that you have a lot of options. And thank you all for tuning in and spending your time with us. Big shout out to all our listeners in Ithaca and around the world. You make this show possible. I'm your host, Pete. And of course, I've been joined by the ever insightful Sean. We hope you take this opportunity to discover Sean's recent camping spot that he did in Oneonta at Arnold Lake. And if you have an event or a local favorite you want us to cover, reach out to us on social media or shoot us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep your finger on the pulse of Ithaca and make the most of this place we call home. Take care, everyone.